Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tech Stack Strategy, Build a Scalable Digital Foundation. My name is Colin Mahin, and I'm a Director of High Growth Impact Entrepreneurs and Head of Sponsorships at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. For those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit improving access and knowledge in entrepreneurship to advance economic progress for all. As you're going to see in the chat in just a moment, the Nasdaq Center provides programs, resources, and exceptional mentorship to help entrepreneurs fuel prosperity, no matter where their journey begins. Be sure to check out those links and resources shared in the chat. Now, we're going to launch a few polls to take a step back and take a temperature gauge on how everyone is doing today. The first one, how are you feeling about your business? Can't believe 2026 is already 13 days in. Let us know. Thank you for voting. We use this information to guide the programs we provide for this global community of entrepreneurs. So, if there are any specific topics or challenges you'd like us to create resources for or host a webinar around, feel free to share them in the chat. Speaking of the chat, a couple more housekeeping notes. Let us know where you're dialing in from. See if you have any neighbors. Also, we're going to field live Q&A near the end of this session, so please feel free to submit those questions for us at the Q&A box at any time throughout the discussion. We'll do our best to get to as many as we can. Now, while you're answering these last polls, I'd like to take a moment to recognize the incredible support of our corporate partners. The work that we do at the center would not be possible without all the generosity and beliefs of our partners and funders, including Nasdaq, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, KPMG, Walmart, Asia Innovation Hub, Wilson Sonsini, the Nareet Foundation, the Global Innovation Institute, KKR, and BPM. We're grateful for their partnership, and we hope you'll join us in sharing that appreciation as well. All right, before we get started, let's see where this poll's landing. It looks like sales followed by finance are the leaders. And let's see, we've got Dallas, Long Beach, Chicago. Love it. Welcome, everyone. Albany, New York, Atlanta, Dallas. All right, lots of East Coast. Houston, love to see it. All righty, y'all. Well, without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome to our special guest presenter. Peter Krzyzek is a co-founder and CTO at Chykalophia. Sorry. Peter, welcome.
Hello there.
Looking forward to having you and to learning more. All right, over to you.
Awesome. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Peter, and I'm the CTO of Scalable. One of my biggest passions lately, as has been for many nerds, is AI. So I will be touching on AI and how this plays into, well, life and everything that you can and shouldn't do with your tech stack. Because as we all know, jumping into the deep end is kind of a fun thing, but as a business owner, not the brightest and best thing to do. So AI is fun, pretty, shiny. Don't fall for the shiny syndrome, shiny object syndrome. Now, to get started, let's share the screen. Awesome. So this presentation is really just about the tech stack and where you're going with this thing. So one of the big things that we do at our company is help build a foundation that actually helps you move forward. It's one of those conundrums of you want to get somewhere great, but how do you get to somewhere great? Well, you neither know how to get to somewhere great, nor do you know what somewhere great is. If you want to, for example, have a healthy body, you need to know what your goals are, not just be healthy, because that doesn't really tell anybody anything. So you want to lose 10 pounds by April. You want to be able to lift 300 pounds, whatever it is, you need a goal. And then once you have that goal, you need to know how to get there. And what a lot of people don't think too much about is you need the supporting systems to help you get there. And that's the big part we'll talk about today. And AI, as I mentioned, is probably not your first best friend in this scenario. The reason why is, well, many of us have experienced AI lies, AI hallucinates, and it's not always the smartest. So we're approaching this more or less like scientists to make sure that we can make our businesses grow and scale. And yes, I do have many dad jokes and puns as we go along. We are Cykalophia. We are a remote-only company by choice, largely because I hate the commute. And right now, the longest commute I have is from my home office here to my coffee maker about 20 meters behind me. Very long commute. I commuted all through college, never doing it again. And through this, we've been focusing largely on small business owners and medium-sized business owners, helping them create that foundation in a way that actually makes sense for them, which is not the same thing for everybody. Some people might like and need a Ford pickup truck. Somebody might just need a simple old Honda Civic. Both are good for their own reasons. We did write a book about this kind of stuff, so please do check it out. I believe you guys will have the copy of the presentation, so no need to rush about this thing. But it's all about how to make your website sell, which part of this presentation is based about, largely because if you don't have a system to scale, be it EOS, be it anything you make up, be it you're just popping numbers in spreadsheets, you don't have a system, you're kind of going to be running around like headless chicken. And we don't want to be doing that, especially in 2026 when things are up, down, and all around. Now, I don't know if we can do live chat while we're presenting, but either or, it'd be kind of cool because I do love to ask these questions, particularly about what's the again, I'm a nerd, so I love talking about tech and stuff. And please don't say AI as your number one thing, because that's going to be very scary. But what are some of the tech tools that you use, love to use, and cannot live without? What would you rather have, your phone or your computer? In my case, for example, that's an easy one, my computer. I can live without my phone. This is how I do my work, so I kind of need my computer. I can live without that. Me being a tech-savvy guy, you kind of can figure out how tech-savvy I am. And top 3 apps is actually kind of easy for me. So, and I hope you guys have a top 3 apps as well. My 3 in particular happen to be ClickUp. That's what we use for our project management tool. Again, by choice. And there's a system I'll take you through, tell you why we chose ClickUp at the end of the day. And Linear didn't exist at that time, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. One of those situations. But ClickUp is one of them. Claude Code and Claude overall is generally another one. And another one is simply Chrome. Good old Google Chrome. Those are my 3 apps that really just help me get anywhere and everywhere. I don't need too much of anything else. And honestly, I have a not so very powerful computer because I don't need to compile things locally. That's what the web is for. I do most of my coding for the web, and most of my work as the CTO is documents, phone calls, and meetings. So yay, if you get there, you know what I'm talking about. But talking about tech, it gets fun because there's a lot of small businesses that do a lot with tech, and they don't know what to do with it. Many of you, for example, might have a WordPress website, and you hate it for reasons A to Z. There's a lot of good reasons to love WordPress or hate WordPress. Either or, maybe it's not right for you. Maybe it is right for you, but you're not using it properly. Or you should consider something completely different and just not worry about these things at all. Or, and it gets longer and longer. The point is that a lot of businesses, big and small, just outgrow what they have. The thing that worked for you yesterday will not work for you tomorrow. It's one of those computer science type jokes is that keep track, the side of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and try to get a different result. In computer science and computers, it actually is pretty sane to do the same thing and hope for a different result, because then you know something went wrong. Fun. The point is that technology changes, and especially in 2026 and going into 2030, there's a lot of phenomenal technologies that are going to be coming out to help you grow your businesses. Are you keeping up with these things? But more importantly, do you need them? And the answer is not always yes. For example, do you need an AI salesperson? And probably not. A lot of companies lost money in technology, largely because they didn't keep up with their IT infrastructure. And I'm generalizing that overall, because if you're out of date, you might have to worry about more security concerns. It might be slowing you down. It might not even be doing what you actually needed to do. Now, I am presenting, so I could never figure out in Zoom how to view and see the chat. So I don't know if you'll be able to help me at all. Does anybody have a technology frustration right now? Love to hear it. Nope. All right. That's fair. Well,
I
as
see.
a
Yes, yes.
oh, ah, you were on mute. Put that on your bingo card. I know I did. But yes, technology frustrations, for example, mine these days are, surprisingly, AI, but also not AI. A quick reason for that is many of you have probably seen the research by MIT that showed right around 95% of AI investments have flopped and not really turned into something profitable for a company. I don't see that as a technology problem. I am a strategy first guy. And again, I love technology, don't get me wrong. But usually these things, it's not the technology, it's the user in front of the technology, in front of the screen. That's the problem. And that's the big issue of theirs. How did you get to doing or not
All right.
using AI?
All right, Peter, I got a bunch of responses now coming in the chat. People are
Oh,
just warming up their hands. Having to pay for certain features on our website, to trying to decide if I should continue to use GitHub for project tracking or move to Jira, my CRM, asking AI things. That's along what you were just saying. Squarespace integration, paying for all these subscriptions, Flowdesk for email marketing is my current frustration. Too
I
much
hear
low
you.
quality AI apps, constant changing of the
Hmm.
algorithm, integrations. All right.
Yep. These are absolutely wonderful. And I can quickly mention a few of these things. Flowdesk, we oddly enough actually use that. I hate it as well, largely because it is too simplistic. It has a quick forward-looking thing. If you are looking for a truly advanced marketing tool, go to something like HubSpot. If you want to pay them the obscene amount of money that they ask for, ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, and a few others. They have phenomenal tools. Constant Contact, I believe, is also another overall good one. And top tech recommendations. That's a quick, easy one for CRM. ActiveCampaign and HubSpot are the two biggest ones that I generally recommend. Klaviyo, again, overall, Salesforce, if that's your jam, they're all pretty good. But, and my wife absolutely hates when I say this, it depends. It really depends on where you are in life and business, what do you actually need, and what will actually move you forward. Somebody mentioned Flowdesk is our frustration. Somebody else mentioned too many AI apps. Another, the SEO algorithm listing is changing too often. Well, that's okay, because the question is, are these things actually important, or are they the latest, shiniest thing? We'll go through that. And the Deborah asked a wonderful question, finding the right apps for my needs. The best answer is you don't need any. You need to go make sales. That's the honest to goodness best answer. Apps, for the reason of having apps, are not going to help you. Question is, which apps? Which we're going to take you through a fun little 5-step process to figure out what you need. Step one, we get to be doctors. Where are you currently, more or less, in life, in your business? What is going on right now? What are your actual requirements? Which is a very different question than what is currently going on. And not even looking at the future yet. Then analyze your potential and where you actually need things to go. Cost benefit analysis, there's a reason for that. And then execute on all that stuff going forward. Because if you don't know where you are, and you don't know what you needed to do, and you don't have a plan to get there, you can't get there. This is the same kind of sort of issue that AWS had. If you guys remember, was it 3-4 weeks ago now? All of AWS went down, literally all of it, because they messed up on some basic things of, not to get too nerdy, too many things working all too many times on one single thing, and one thing broke and it took down the rest of everything else. It's one of those, they thought too much, but they didn't think about the most basic use cases of what is the single point of failure, what can happen, and how can we avoid these things, which this helps you get there. Is it foolproof? No, but it does significantly help. Because first, scan. And again, I love dad jokes, I love acronyms, so scan what you got. You have to scale. Where you're going with this stuff. What are you currently using? If you create a simple spreadsheet, you don't need AI for this. By the way, AI could help with this part, but after you figure out what you have, Your credit card statements are a great place to start this. Same thing with your available logins. But what are you actually using? What are you paying for? But more so, what are you using and paying for, and what features does that thing have? And if you're not using something, paying for it, probably dump it until you actually need it. And I do know the whole idea of the sudden cost fallacy. I have ADHD, so I love the shiniest, newest, prettiest thing, and I love getting it, and I love and want all of it. To stop myself, because there's no point of having something that's not going to help you. So you take a full audit. I know people don't like that word, but do take a full audit of your whole business. What are you using for your CRM? What are you using for your newsletters, website, hosting, browsing experiences, password management? And by the way, if you aren't using password managers, please do. I've had so many clients this year just not use password managers, and it's driving me up the wall. So please use password managers that aren't your browser, by the way. Now, and does your team, if you have a team, what are they using? What do they want to be using? And where are things going well or not? Person who mentioned Flowdesk, that is not working for them, or is there frustration? Here's the question for you. Why? And by the way, a valid answer is, I don't like how it looks. By the way, that is a completely 100% valid excuse to not like it and being a frustration. Maybe it is priced incorrectly for the amount of results that you get from it. It doesn't have enough features. It's too complicated. It kind of sort of has the features, but it's so whatever the reason, write out what it does, what it doesn't do, what you like, what you don't like. And you're supposed to do this for pretty much every single thing that you know you're going to have questions about. For example, we use ClickUp. When we do this, I don't put ClickUp on the list because I know what it does currently, and I know where it fits in our process. But for many other things, do we have Photoshop? Or should we use open source tools? Me, I don't have a Photoshop license, not because I pirate it, because I really don't need it. So why pay, what is it, $60 a month for the full suite these days? For these things, I won't use it. So what do I do for photo editing? My creative team is for. And there are more than enough free online tools. And again, I'm a tech guy, so I can code something to do almost all the image manipulation that I need. So what do you have? What are you going to use it for? What are its limitations? Because the big thing from here are, if you find out that Flowdesk isn't working for you, you're hosting twice. You have ActiveCampaign, but it's too pricey and you're not getting enough profit out of it. You have WordPress, but reason. You have Shopify, but you need something for the marketing side. There's a lot of reasons. But what are these limitations that are not just system limitations? They're limitations to you. Limitations that stop you from going forward. Again, this could be a technical limitation of the platform. For me, and what I look for most of the time is actually not the technical parts. It's the user experiences. Where does the team, my client's efforts and process get hindered by that thing that we're doing? Because after we know that, we can start looking into what would fit. Or do we have duplicative functionality? For example, probably, I don't know every single use case, but probably for most of us, we wouldn't want Salesforce and HubSpot at the same time. They do kind of sort of the same thing at the core. So why would you need both? You probably don't. So questions you can ask yourself, you have to hack around it. Do you have to struggle through it? Do you dread going to it? Or does it more or less work, but it could be better? A lot of ways to ask these questions, but you should ask them. And a quick example of this one was Chykalophia. They're a local company here up in Edmonton. So we're in Chicago, by the way. Love you guys up here in Chicago, enjoying the fun weather. The flu is going around again. Yay. But they're a natural health company here in Edmonton. And one of the biggest problems when we started them way back in the day is that they had 3-4 different sites using various different things, and none of them talk to each other. What do you do? Well, what's the goal? Why do you even need to integrate anything? Funny answer is they actually don't. In that particular case, they need a marketing site, they need e-commerce. That was it. There's no integration for these things. They needed some mini live listing for hot deals, but that's about it. There's nothing fancy about these things. But that only happened, and we could only go that direction after sitting down and talking with them, like, what are their actual needs? What are they paying for? And thus, then at the end of the day, in their particular case, there's a WordPress front end and BigCommerce for the back end, because BigCommerce had literally every single feature they could ever want. Done. It's not much more complex for them, and they're doing swimmingly because of it. It's a fun question that I always love to go through is, all right, you have your Flowdesk, you have your HubSpot, you have whatever. You have your Claude, ChatGPT, who cares, right? You have all your fun items and tools and knickknacks. Does it actually help you? Now, this is not the frustration question. This is the, does it move the needle forward, to use one of those cliche words? What are your business goals? Like your, if you use EOS, this would be your rocks, your yearly goals, your vision statement, all those fun things. Is that technology getting you there? And thus then, does this technology have what you actually need? I'm going to use ClickUp again, for example, because again, we use it, Linear and Basecamp and a few others. They kind of sort of more or less the same thing. So just go along with the story. For us, you need to have good task management. You need to have integrated documents. You need to must-haves. Have integrated documents, easy way to link to things outside, and needed to have integrated chat. So we have everything in our company all in one place, all in one portal. Checked every single box. Should it have? It will be great if it actually does have some live collaborative document creation. Great. If it doesn't, really, really good if it does. Does it have to have AI? When we started with it, no. Should it have? Probably not. Now it does, which is kind of a nice feature. And we just went from there for what it could have. It could have mind maps, and it actually does, but not for us. We don't use those too much. Could it have Git integration? Great, it actually does. We don't use it all that much. One won't have. And what do we not? What, I guess, this is the negative inverse question. What do you want it to not do or hinder you? Big thing for us, and why we end up choosing ClickUp, is before all that, we had a project management tool. We had a support management tool. Oh, we had a ticket management tool. We had a chat tool. We had a documents tool. I was like, okay, this is getting insane. We had to send everybody out to many different systems to do. It's insane. For us, we can't have something be all over the place. It needs to be one place, and most importantly, it actually needs to integrate with itself, which surprisingly some apps don't do all too well. But for us, it just needs to be an integrated system that actually does. And it's all, for the most part. So what is this tool going to do for your business specifically? Is there a measurable metric, that's the proper phrase, that this tool is going to help you achieve? In this case, for us, GitHub, for us, it does. ClickUp, it does. Adobe subscriptions, not for me, but for my creative team, yes. Now, this isn't a true or false answer. This depends on who's using it. Will this price actually make sense? The price of Adobe is going higher and higher every single year. And so that question is coming up to us, and it's getting very close to a no. So we're probably going to drop our subscriptions with Adobe and go to other tools simply because the prices are ridiculous for what we get. Do you have any compliance issues or compliance things? For example, if you are hosting a medical app, you probably don't want to be hosting on GoDaddy, which you probably shouldn't be doing anyway. You don't want to be hosting on the $5 budget host either. You want to be hosting with a company that can sign a BAA, one of those confidentiality agreements where their servers and all that other stuff are going to be secure, blah, 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 all this fun stuff. You need one of those things. So is that one of your must-haves? If yes, then you wouldn't want to be company or SaaS A, B, or C. You'd want to go D, E, F because you need these certain specific features. And will it evolve? There was a good example of this. Does anybody know of the Arc browser? Kind of made a big splash last year-ish and the year before. I loved the Arc browser. It was a Chrome-based browser, had the tabs on the side. They were innovating it so much. I loved it. But around the middle of last year, they stopped innovating it completely. It's a dead product. And last week, I started switching to a different browser simply because it was just such a pain in the butt. So when I'm evaluating things like this these days, and the reason I chose Vivaldi as my browser these days is because it is in active development, guaranteed to be in active development. And I know it will keep going. ClickUp, I know, I've been talking to a lot of the directors and C-levels, so they're pretty fun people, and they are very much so active. So that app is going to stay around. I know Adobe is as well, and many others, but thing you're using, maybe it's cheaper, maybe it's more niche, maybe it's just what you need, but is it actually going to do the thing you need to do in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? I'd love to say, excuse me, I'd love to say that, yeah, you could always jump ship, like with a website. Yes, you can move from WordPress to Webflow, from Webflow to Shopify, and so on and so forth. Is that effort going to be worth it? Sometimes the answer is a very, very easy no. We could move from ClickUp to linear. I'm not going to. Not worth the effort. The functionality is more or less the same, and ClickUp works well enough for us. Fine. So, along with those, Onshore, fun company, also here in Chicago. They've made waves 5-ish years ago, and they've been in the Inc. 5000 several times over, growing and growing, especially in the validation space. But again, kind of like the previous example, many things working in many different ways that don't interconnect. And biggest question for them was, how do we get people actually coming into our funnels in a way that makes sense and we can actually capture? Well, question number one, are you going to actually be selling anything on the website? No. E-commerce, that was easy. 2, what do you mean by people coming in? Well, we want leads. Okay, yeah, great. Everybody wants leads. What is a lead? What do they have to do to qualify as a lead? What is this sales qualification process that's going to happen once they're in there? But more so then, what's going to happen before the sales process? How do they find out about you? That thus then, the sales material and the website and everything else in between can support that whole process. But that whole process ended up with, in their particular case, 4 websites, largely because there's the main company who owns now they own the sales, the validation product, which is a different product than the main company, which they sell consulting. And then there's the third one which I always forget what the third one does. And then there's their articles and blog and education area. That's what it was. The blog and then the education area, 3 and 4. So they particularly needed 4 things, as they are very separate and distinct departments that do very separate and distinct things. Hence, they have related but different branding for each of those items. And that's what specifically they needed. But again, would have never happened that way. And they would have grown to 5,000, and now I remember, they're going close to 9 figures. Please not quote me on that. I know they were well into the 8s. That was pretty fun. And I know I've kind of shot myself in the foot by saying we're kind of sticking with ClickUp for this part. But sometimes silos are fine if it does what you need it to do very, very well. But at least on the plus side, ClickUp doesn't really lock you into any proprietary data. They have all their magic stuff with the AI and however they store it. They've done some really cool things with their technology in the back end. But they don't lock you in. If you want to move your stuff out, yeah, okay, here's the export button. Off you go. Go have fun. They have a wonderful API, and I can do any nerdy thing that I want with it, which is a huge must-have for me. For example, the one application that we use that I want to get rid of, but I cannot because it works so well, is Honeybook. Any of you use Honeybook? Yay for you, I guess. But I have a love-hate relationship with it. Interface, great. System, great. Zero API. Got me up the wall. So I can't automatically move. If somebody says, oh, but there's Zapier. That's not really an integration. And that's me nerding out. But if you do have a system that locks you into its own little proprietary system and you can't move it out, well, heaven forbid, they go out of business. They stop developing the product like Arc did. They change and pivot what their organization is going to do. Use the example, I had a client who was working on a wonderful medical product to help to help create a structured plan for recovery for a patient with XYZ scenario. Wonderful product. Promise the market didn't care at all. What they did care for, though, is customized products for their own particular office, for their own particular use case. So they had to completely pivot on what they did. And the people who were using the system previously, sorry, we're going to support you for 1 or 2 more years, but then bye. It's kind of locked in. So the systems, if they're locked in, there's nothing you can do about it. I highly push everybody to go away from those systems because you will need integrations. As AI grows, you will want an MCP server to connect into it through your AI to help you do things. You will eventually want your HubSpot to connect to your other CRM or sales tool, to connect to your email marketing newsletter if you're using different things, to your website, so on and so forth. You want these things integrated. And if they cannot, somebody's going to be doing a lot of work, and that costs money. Quick note on that though, sometimes it is cheaper to pay a person than have a machine do it. So take that into account when you're doing this whole system and process, because that does go into your cost benefit analysis. Let's see. Core history of integration. Oh my gosh. Honeybook is absolutely the absolutely wonderful thing. Again, I have a love-hate relationship with them. They don't have any integrations. They have poor integration with everything. Another funny one was a application. It worked almost perfectly great for a client. They had Cal classes for STEM classes for kids and adults. They're now going into the business world. The system that they wanted, which was better than what they had almost everything, minus two features. We ended up going to them. They signed a contract, but they ended up coming out of it and breaking the contract within a month because it integrated with nothing, absolutely nothing. They had an API, sort of. Oh, and yes, I talked to their CTO about this, and I made them very, very unhappy when I asked my questions like, how the hell am I going to integrate this thing? They couldn't. So we jumped out because there's nothing we literally can do. The best we could do is get an email notification. Great, we're making 1,000 sales per hour. I don't want 1,000 emails. I need something better. They literally had nothing better. And then this information, if you can get nerdy enough, how is it going to transfer things from A to B? Zapier is a valid option. I preferably don't use Zapier because, again, nerd, a whole tech team, we can do things ourselves much cheaper than Zapier can. But sometimes Zapier is just a purely valid option because for the most part, it does just work. Quick note, though, Zapier does have a learning curve. And yes, you will have to, don't use their AI. It's finicky. I've used it more than enough times on client projects and it's fine at best. But Zapier does work, but does have a learning curve, and you will have to logic things out from A to B, kind of like a computer scientist, just so you know. Again, it does work. Just put your thinking and data hat on when you do use it. A fun one is Love and Light. They are a company which is very, very dear to me. They've been clients for us for 10 years-ish, something like that. Absolutely lovely people. One of their biggest needs is their course management. Well, there's Masterclass, great, but then you're locked into proprietary data. Great, you can go with Shopify and sell digital courses, kind of, on it, but that's the problem, kind of. Nowadays, there are a few things that integrate better, but back then there weren't. So looking at every possible thing that could ever happen or not happen with this particular company, only real option was WordPress with WooCommerce, and at least back in that case, LearnDash to get the courses working in a specific way that they wanted because, again, love or hate WordPress, it is open source. And we literally could make anything, and we did. And in their particular case, they worked perfectly great because they had the courses done exactly how they wanted it, with the certifications they wanted, with the processes and flows they wanted, with the way things presented in a way that they wanted, including interactive classes, videos, and everything in between, which no platform offered it in that specific user experience they wanted. In their case, yes, the cost of dealing with WordPress was worth it. Even though WordPress is a headache, almost every week there's something to do on it. It makes a heck of a lot more money than it costs to maintain it. Worth it. So, question time. How many apps do you use? I know I've gotten myself down to right around 5 different apps. I have my browser. I don't know if Zoom counts, so I'm not counting Zoom. I have my browser. I have ClickUp. I have Claude. I have my terminal application. My coding application. That's all I use. I don't really ever use anything else. My wife, as an example, though, she would have, oh gosh, she uses a whole bunch from almost every single Adobe product to various apps for creating presentations, animations, the video work that her team does. She does a whole bunch. I knew one client who was using about 20 different apps, programs, I'm not going to say apps because there were programs on their computer and apps online to do all the various things that they want. After a very, very quick audit and about a 10-minute conversation with them, it was very clear, why are you paying for 3/4 of these? when these three do literally everything. Maybe not exactly the way you want it to, but they do functionally everything you want to, and you can learn it. The pushback was, well, they were paying for it. They were a nice company. They used way too many applications, bogged down their overall ROI, and given them a much smaller runway than what they needed. Afterwards, it became much cleaner. Like, you just don't need much. By the way, am I telling you all to go bare bones, minimalistic and everything? No, obviously not. Have your fun. Use the tools that you love, but just don't overdo it. If you don't need something, really just toss it. Don't pay for it. You can always pay for it again when you do need it. So, data-driven decisions. I'm a nerd. I apologize for my cough. I also have the flu, so hooray, Chicago flu. I love to make decisions by data. This, funny enough, has actually also translated into personal life and my marriage. Because if we're going to make a purchase, and that's over, let's say, $100, if we're going to make a purchase, we have to justify it. Why are we making this purchase? What is it going to be used for? Are we going to use it for a longer period of time, especially if it's more expensive? If the answer is no, or maybe to any of those questions, and the answer is no. Why would I need this thing? I can go with a cheaper or better alternative than this more expensive thing. So, what are the direct fees? WooCommerce and Shopify are wonderful examples of this. Shopify, you can get an account for, was it $29, $99, $97? They're the various price levels. You can get an account for that. WordPress you can host for free, but it's not for free, is it? Because you have to pay for hosting. And again, if you're paying for $5 for hosting for WordPress, you're shooting yourself in the foot. Please don't do that. Host somewhere better. Usually, by the way, we want to pay around 20 to 30, $40 is the starting point for a good hosting environment. WP Engine, Kingstar are probably the best ones you can look at these days. Anywho, what's the direct cost? The fees of the app and the thing you're going to pay for directly, immediately, or over a period of time. What are these costs? And some things have a setup fee, some don't. But the setup fee can also and should include a fee to pay somebody to set it up. You buy a TV, costs $1,000. You want to hang it up on the wall. Are you going to do it yourself? Let's say you're not. Well, it costs $600. And I know that number because my friend hung up his TV recently, and it cost him $600 to hang up the TV on the wall. So his TV did not cost him $1,000. His TV cost him $1,600 plus tip. That's the cost of the initial TV. Then power fees and all those fun things, right? So indirect cost. If you're going to use HubSpot, you are definitely going to have a learning curve. Same thing with Salesforce, ActiveCampaign, a lot of these tools. Is the cost of maintaining those systems, training people on them, going through the grief of using some of those systems worth it? You let me know. And by the way, annoyances is something that's measurable. And lovability of an app, that's measurable. They have those, somebody else's name better than I, not the MP. Yeah, Net Promoter Score? MPS. Yeah, whatever, one of those happiness score things. That's a measurable thing. That includes for apps that you should be using for yourself. Do you love using Photoshop? Great, keep on doing it. But if you're paying for it, but you need it, but you hate it, well, find something else. Opportunity. How long is it going to take you to get this thing up and running? Shopify, pretty quick to get something up and running. I can literally get you an e-commerce website that looks reasonably well, probably by the end of today. Is that what you're looking for? Is that actually going to serve your needs? Or do you want something and need something that's going to be a bit more custom and requires a longer build out because you need something? And thank you, Amanda, MPS. Is this longer build out for a custom app, custom WordPress website, full custom integration with Shopify for something going to be what you need? But it's going to take a while. You're not going to buy it today. You're not going to have it until whenever that project finishes and launches. And by the way, if you are launching websites or apps, do launch them in phases. Make your life so much easier than launching all at once, because then things will go wrong. I guarantee you. And there are hidden costs. Hidden costs, for example, easy one, which a lot of people don't think of kind of related to, Canva is pretty great, by the way. They have some really cool things. They do video nowadays. They have some AI things, but their video capabilities are pretty decent for beginners. So Canva's always fun. But everything has costs, from direct cost to indirect hidden cost. I consider this kind of both for both Shopify and WooCommerce, the app piece. Everything in Shopify is an app, which drives me up the wall. So you're not going to be paying $29.99 for Shopify. per month. You're going to be paying that plus your transaction fees, the hidden fees, plus you're going to be paying for the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many apps you have for marketing, automation, abandoned cart recovery, which Shopify kind of sort of has built in, but not really, and more other things. I have clients who are paying right around $300-400 per month just in apps for Shopify because you kind of have to for the things they want to do. WooCommerce, more or less the same thing. If you want updates and licenses, ongoing licenses and support for all the plugins you're going to be using, unless you custom code them, you're going to be paying for those yearly or monthly or whatever it is. So there are these costs. So it's not just build a website for 10K, plop it up over there. It's going to look good and plop in some plugins. No, you're going to have hosting fees, security fees. You have to maintain this, et cetera, et cetera. The other big part, biggest hidden one is security, by the way, and I'm a huge security nerd. Security is always paramount. So you will probably want to pay for firewalls. You will want to pay for secure password managers. You will want to pay for secure data storage, so on and so on and so forth. Because getting hacked and having all your data stolen is generally much more expensive than just pushing some money towards IT to get these things done ahead of time. Limsage Foundation, yet another fun folks here in Chicago. If you've been in downtown, you've probably seen their fun little statue. They're still in a funding phase right now, so great. They're doing great. And they, when we started with them, 7 years ago, I think, they had a not only disparate brand, with multiple brands that made no sense to anybody because none of their donors knew where to go for which kind of donation for what kind of thing. Are they doing breast cancer research? Are they doing breast cancer research donations? Are they doing fundraising events that thus then give money to? Nobody knew. In their particular case, one brand, one website. They do use a third-party funding form, which I'm pushing them towards moving back somewhere else because their current funding form has no integrations. And they're also getting frustrated with it. So we're moving back to something much simpler because think of it this way, a Ferrari is great. Many of us would want a Ferrari. But if you're going shopping from here to Trader Joe's or Costco, you probably don't want the Ferrari. You want the minivan or the pickup truck or the regular old car that can actually fit stuff. Same thing and same conversation between what's better, a Ferrari or a school bus? What is your use case? Because the school bus is a beautiful, beautiful tool with a lot of safety features that the Ferrari is never going to have. For the 50 kids you got to pop in there. Something applies to any of the technologies that you have. And then, favorite part of everybody, execute. You don't start immediately. And then you make a fool out of yourself by clicking things accidentally. But you don't start immediately. You begin by making a plan. If you want to use HubSpot, great, absolutely wonderful tool. Costs an arm and a leg once you get beyond the starter package, but it's a great platform. And I know a lot of people who easily spend $15K a year or so for the full package and beyond. Great. That is what works for them because they've budgeted properly and they use all the tools, they use all the features and work the system. But it took them a lot of hidden cost of training and understanding it and going to a lot of courses to get there. So what's your plan for making this thing work? Are you going to migrate everything tomorrow? Hopefully not. It's going to be a piece-by-piece thing, which is how we did it into ClickUp. We first moved some of our documents, then some of our tasks, then the rest of our projects, and eventually chat at the end, piece by piece, because then you can manage it. Why am I saying do this piece by piece and have a plan for getting this going? Because you have a life. And I don't mean that as a joke. You have a life, you have work, you have clients, you have things to do. If you're just working on fiddling with this stuff, this is a toy to some certain degree. This is preventing you from doing your stuff that you have to do day to day. Plan it out. Have somebody help you with it if possible. That's where the plan comes in. Because if you plan for, let's say, a 5K or 50K budget for having some IT company come in and redo XYZ, great. Now you don't have to spend that time as long as that cost, whatever that cost may be, gives you a better ROI than you yourself having to do these things, which generally is what happens. So make a plan, but don't forget, once you have that plan and you start moving over, a lot of people forget this bottom one. Number 3, optimize. Kind of like SEO. All of us love it, hate it, whatever. You have to optimize. If you just plop yourself into HubSpot, into Salesforce, into ClickUp, into whatever, great. What now? That's a fun question. And usually people don't have an answer to the question of what now. So we're in there. Okay. Is it working well? I don't know. You should know. You should have your measurables for, is this new system working better than the old system? Quick final note on communication. One of the best things I've learned from, at the time, he was the director of communication and community for Whitespark, if I remember correctly. He said the best communication tool for any team internally is whatever tool is the best for that communication team. Meaning, if they love Google Docs, use Google Docs. If they love Slack, use Slack for that team. If they love Discord, use Discord. It is whatever tool works for you. At home, I love a small cooking pot for sauces and my soups. My wife loves the big cast iron Dutch oven. Eventually, kind of the same thing at the end of the day. Well, you ends up with more soup, but it's what you need. What works? What optimizes? With telling industries, they're a manufacturing, that's the wrong word. They're a metal framework making metalworks. There we go. Metalworks company down in, oh gosh, Ohio. They have a few locations. The point is, one of the biggest things and biggest gripes they had was our website doesn't work. And I think somebody mentioned that and a few other things. Our stuff just doesn't work, doesn't get us there. Oh, okay. What does that mean? What does it mean it's not getting you there? Well, take into the process. Where do you need to be? What are you currently using? What is going on? What is not going on? In their particular case, their salespeople were not able to use their website or any of the marketing material to help accelerate a sale. Go through the system step by step and figure out what you actually have, what you're going to do, what you needed to do, how you're going to get there, execute on that plan. About a month after launch, they, if I remember correctly, doubled their sale down in a month. So that's kind of fun. Here's the 5 steps: scan, catalog, analyze, leverage, cost-benefit analysis. There's always money. Welcome to business. Love to say that we also hold hands and sing kumbaya. No, money's a thing. So cost-benefit analysis, that includes time and brain power. And then execute on your strategy. Now, most expensive tech mistake, by the way, was in our particular case, and I know I'm running out of time, so I'm going to rush through the last few. Most expensive tech mistake was locking ourselves into a project management platform way back in the day that we never used. Cost us, I think, about over 2 years, about 11K into a technology platform. I just sat around, did nothing. We kind of sort of used it, but that was the problem, kind of sort of. Because we, at that time, we didn't make a analysis like this. And I know many of you have as well. Should I buy that overpriced car? Should I buy the best hosting ever? Should I pay for the best consultant ever in the world? Really? I don't know. Is it going to give you an ROI that you need in the time that you need with the resources that you have? And that's the big point. Not everything is it the best? Is it the best ROI? Is it the best thing for you right now with the resources you have? And that's a mental health note, by the way, because I've learned this one the hard way. You all made mistakes in life. I made mistakes in life. You made mistakes with your tech and your business. You did the best you could with what you had. And that's okay. Same thing applies to budgeting, business, and everything. Don't fall for the shiny object syndrome. I have ADHD. I do it all the time. Don't do it. Hold yourself accountable, which is why writing things down and having an accountability partner really help. Don't put yourself and pigeonhole yourself into a technology that's not going to be integrating with anything. And worst of all, don't just think you can just pop it over there and it'll be just fine. For those of you who have WordPress, you know what I'm talking about. You don't just have a WordPress website. You have to maintain it. Same thing with a car. And don't do everything yourself. This is where AI is a trap. Now, if you want to check some things out, here's a fun little tech stack evaluation form you can use. You'll have the slide over yonder after the presentation. You can always do the fun little QR code thing, which I'm so happy QR codes finally came into the United States in the early 2000s. So happy. They're so useful. But take a look, have fun. And there's more stuff on the website and on my LinkedIn you can find. And that's it. So Colin, I can keep going on for hours, but there's only so many hours in a day and I need coffee. So back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Peter. What a wealth of knowledge you shared during that. So really appreciate it. Everyone saying thank you, great information. Thank you, Peter. So as you take a sip of your coffee, we've got some questions in the Q&A box. We're gonna do a lightning round. So whenever you're ready, I'll just start rolling.
Yeah.
How does constantly changing algorithms and integrations affect business operations?
Ooh, easy. It doesn't. We plan for it. Yes, some things change and critically change, as in, oh my gosh, our payment processor was working yesterday, today it isn't. That has happened. Yay. That sucks. For the rest of these things, great. ChatGPT put out something new. Okay, great. Facebook's doing this other thing. Okay. So I'm on my little path. This is why you have a plan. You know where you are, you know where you're going. Stick to that plan. There's a very, very, very big reason every single business course tells you make your marketing plan, make your sales plan, and make your business plan. Stick to it. If you have to deviate, then you're doing a big pivot. You're not doing little nudges. Yes, you should nudge a little bit, but there's a new great shiny thing. Who cares? Don't do it. So things change. Yes, if they change critically, deal with it. If they don't, ignore it until you have to.
Awesome. Um, this is a quick, easy one. Can we see the QR code again for the tech stack audit? And I know we're going to be following up with that after, but if you just want to pull it up again as we run through Q&A,
Yeah.
people can scan that QR code.
This is the one problem with too many monitors. I've misplaced everything.
Oh, it always happens to me. And then I go blind when I start sharing my screen. All right, folks, there it is. So we'll keep that up for another minute or so.
Mhm.
Let's see, Peter, another question here. Would you still recommend using a WordPress and LearnDash approach for courses, certifications, etc.?
WordPress, yes. LearnDash, no. I never, ever, ever will recommend LearnDash again. It does kind of sort of just work, but we found it's in every single instance on every single client, it is a bloated software. There are other tools that do more or less what LearnDash does that are much leaner, much faster, much more modern. I recommend checking those out. One of them, I think, was called, I'm not sponsoring them, so this is just a thing I remember off the top of my head. Academy LMS was one of them. You can look online for, there's a plethora of these. And it actually worked. Yes, certainly. Light does it. And I know I can name a whole bunch of others that do as well. It does work. Have fun dealing with LearnDash because it will fight you every step of the way. But yes, it
Mhm.
can.
Right. Awesome. All right. Let's see. What processes should businesses follow to identify the right tech solutions for their unique needs and challenges, other than attending this webinar?
Go through that. No, the uh, best place is to one start with honestly kind of like what slide one was. Who are you right now? And then what do you need? Do you? Okay, I'm going to use AI. Do you need AI? No, none of you need AI. I don't need AI. Is it fun? Oh, heck yeah, it's fun. Has it helped me? Heck yeah. Is it expensive? Oh, heck yeah. Do you need it? Um, no, you don't. I do have an example of where it is needed, though, and how they came up with this. Uh, there is a law firm in downtown Chicago, at least I'm pretty sure they're Chicago based, and they made a whole AI law documentation thingamabob where it parses documents and helps the attorneys, especially the junior attorneys, what are they called? The entry level folks. Anyway, helps them parse all these documents much, much, much faster. And I've seen their setup. It's about 20 steps from one document to get to the end. It's a lot. It's a huge thing. And yes, they had an absolute need because they were spending so much time on their interns and their junior associates. That's the word I was looking for to get anything this done. They shot themselves in the foot because they didn't plan the whole thing. Because if any of you here is a lawyer, you know where your money usually comes from documentation. So, and I quote from senior management, we just lost 80% of our revenue.
Hmm.
So, where are you right now? What are you going to do? Where do you need to go? And then honestly, it's a pick your poison type thing. Find a few that work. You can use AI to help you search. It lies. Tell it to be specific, tell it to only find things that actually exist and are live, big names, whatever. Give it some very specific parameters to help you search. That's, by the way, where I use AI. I use it a lot for research and searching, but I'm very specific in my instructions to AI to tell it never lie, never make things up. If you think you're making something up, don't do it. Only use absolutely research things you can actually reference and source. You cannot source it. You're making things up, and I don't care if you think it's the best idea in the world. Doesn't matter. So, to come up with how we used Claude, for example, we're looking around for was Codex, V0, Lovable, and all these various tools to make apps and quick things online. But we realized by going through the process, what we needed is not a tool we can just toss code to and get things done. Those, and I'm saying this as a CTO and a guy who loves coding day and night, they can do things. That's as well as I rate them. For the rest of them, you hire people like me. Yes, and that is a self-serving joke because you seriously do still need tech people to run these things. AI will break. But we decided on it because we had a need to speed up some of these basic things. Basic documentation, creating unit tests, create this end-to-end front-end test. Oh my God, it takes so long to write. Yeah, I do these cool basic things. But for us, it was a thing of where we can optimize our processes. ClickUp was chosen because it happened to have all these things we needed. Project management, task management, documents, chat, whiteboards at the time when we used them. We used to use Miro, most other things. So we just looked around for what kind of sort of worked. Made ourselves a list of things that work. Then we started comparing them, actually using them. Yes, elbow grease, do things. Yeah, pop it in. Pay $20 for a month, see if it actually works.
Yeah.
Better than wasting a whole year's worth of contract for something you hate. I had a client who paid for a contract for Zoho. They did not research it before they jumped into Zoho. Love Zoho. Client absolutely hated it. So they lost, I think it was like, what, $3,000 on their contract because they went straight back to Google Workspace.
Yeah. Wow. Well, we're almost at time, but Peter, the key takeaway moment time is here. So if somebody was going to dial into the last couple of minutes of this, what's one thing you want everyone to take away today?
Well, I'll say one and a half things. One thing is really just go through that process, whether it's the scale process. I don't care really. My big thing is just go through a process to have actual business documentation on why you're making a decision for the direction you need to go. Where are you going to go? Well, documentation is for. You will have to sit and think about it. The half part is don't use AI to think for you. Use it to help you think. Where are you stuck in this process? Okay, we need to go achieve $10 million in revenue. Okay, great. We have this, and this. Okay, and I don't understand design. Where can I get this thing that'll move us forward in design? That's where AI can help you explore ideas, get things out of your brain. Think of it as a very not smart, but useful consultant that'll talk back to you. And by the way, do tell your AI to talk back to you and call you an idiot. It does actually help it be more truthful and be contrarian. So use AI not to do the work for you, to help and assist you clear up your mind, word something better, articulate it better, even to yourself. That is where you'll get some phenomenal results from it.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Peter. Really appreciate you coming and joining us to share all this awesome information. And for those of you who are still on, thank you for joining us. We have a bunch of webinars coming up, so check those out in the chat. But Peter, really appreciate this. Hope everyone will take this and run with it. And thank you again.
Thank you, everybody.
All righty. Well, everyone, we look forward to welcoming you back online soon. We'll see you later. Thanks again, everyone.